Hi guys, One Nation Tories didn't really give a damn about Scotland, so obviously it's going to get even worse when English nationalists like Robert Jenrick or Kemi Badenoch are in charge of the Conservative Party. So the latter, Badenoch, sat down with a BBC journalist from Scotland and spoke about a number of issues, including taxes and of course immigration. However, the worst part arrived when it came to the union itself. When asked if the union was a voluntary one, Badenoch grinned. Then the car crash ensued.
Do you consider the union to be a voluntary union?
So yes, I do. I think the independence referendum result in 2014 shows that. But I do think that we need to stop talking about the union as if it's a union for Scotland or a union for Wales. It's a union for all of the countries. And not enough is talked about the union in England. And I think that that's wrong.
But if it's a voluntary union, you say it is, what's the democratic route out of it for a country that decides it wants to leave?
Well, we had that in 2014.
That was 10 years ago. What would the democratic route out of it be if Scotland wanted to leave now?
Well, I think that constantly having referenda is not necessarily delivering what people want.
So there's no route out now for Scotland?
So a voluntary union doesn't mean something which people can just press a button at any point and then it all unravels. There are many, many people who are involved. And it is a complex question, yes. But if the real question you're asking me is, do I think we should have another referendum? I don't think the answer is yes.
So there is no route out for the people of Scotland at the moment?
Well, one of the things, Martin, which I think we need to recognise is that building a country requires a lot of work, it requires a lot of effort, and it isn't something that we should take for granted.
This is a frigging Brexiteer. She's a Brexiteer. She told people before 2016 we need to leave the European Union. We leave the European Union, everything will be wonderful on the other side. And now she's talking down to the Scottish people saying, look, you don't want to leave the Union. You don't know what's on the other side of that. Building a nation is complicated. It takes a lot of effort. Even though we told people that as soon as we left the European Union, everything will be wonderful. Sunlit uplands. Doing trade deals with nations all around the world, it would compensate for any loss with trade with the European Union. Don't worry, everything will be fantastic. Anyone who disagrees with that is a scaremonger, is a Ramoner. And now she's saying to the Scottish people, look, you had your vote 10 years ago. Like, there are people around today that voted to remain who are no longer with us. And of course, there are a lot of young people around today who didn't have the chance to vote. But don't worry, an English nationalist is telling you, look, you're not ready. How condescending are these people? English Tories telling the Scottish people, look, you had your chance. Don't worry, it's a voluntary union. Okay, how do you get out of it? Well, you had a chance. You blew it. We lied to you at the time. You blew your chance. Now you have to suffer the consequences. But don't worry, I may be Prime Minister one day and I will look after you.
But if all we're talking about is how to get out, we're not actually bringing people together.
No, but that means it's not voluntary.
I disagree. I think that it is.
So what's the way out? What's the way out?
I disagree with
the premise. When can we get it? When can we be released if we wish to be?
I disagree with the premise of the question, Martin, that a voluntary...
I disagree with the premise of the question. Has she been listening to Liz Truss too much? The question is it a voluntary union? You said yes. So if it's a voluntary union, how do you leave it? Because the European Union was a voluntary union. The UK had a referendum and it left. You supported that. But now you're saying that the UK as a whole is a voluntary union, but you're not allowed to leave. Because anytime the Scottish government asked for permission to leave, the Tories would say no. And now, if Kemi Badenoch becomes leader of the Conservatives or eventually Prime Minister, she'll say no as well. So how is that voluntary?
Union is one where everybody can rush out at a particular point. People feel different things at different times. And the union is about more than just Scotland or just Northern Ireland or just Wales. It is about all four of us, all four nations, how we interact.
So theoretically, we could be held in this union against the will of the people.
I do not think that the country has even healed from Brexit, let alone the 2014 independence referendum. I want politicians to get out there and start fixing things for the people, rather than obsessing endlessly about these political questions that actually are not making life better for anyone.
Well, you have a business.
this is somebody who constantly supports Brexit. She's been asked, can you point out some benefits of Brexit? And she can come up with nothing. Does she still support Brexit? Of course. Does she think it was a good idea for the UK to impose economic sanctions upon itself? Yes. Now, earlier in this interview, I didn't cover all of it because it's quite long, but earlier in the interview, she was talking about immigration. And she was asked if maybe Scotland should be given permission to control its own immigration. And she said no. Because if she was Prime Minister, she would be in control of immigration. So the people of Scotland who are desperate for extra workers, the care sector in Scotland, which is crumbling at the moment because they can't access the staff they need, well, would have to go with a begging bowl to Westminster and ask for more visas. And Kemi Badenoch, as Prime Minister in the future, a horrible idea, but if she became Prime Minister in the future, would obviously say, no, I'm in charge. Can we leave? No, you can't. You can leave if I allow you to leave. How the hell is that a voluntary union? Pathetic. So, while at the beginning I said it's pretty bad for Scotland under a one-nation Tory government, it would be even worse under an English nationalist government. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.